Welcome everybody. Welcome to another session of chair yoga aboard the Impossible Dream Catamaran. We're so lucky to be out here in the Bay in Miami. But no matter how beautiful it is, it's a little bit heartbreaking that our friends can't be here with us today. Normally we have this class at Dharma Studio, or we actually do the class on board the Impossible Dream. Sometimes we do sunset cruises and sail back after enjoying sunset yoga class, chair yoga class. But all that has changed, and you know why. So it's a little bit heartbreaking that our friends can't be with us here today. Normally on this boat we've had 10, 15 of our friends in wheelchairs, sometimes on the bow, sometimes on the stern. And it's a boat that was built for this purpose, to be universally accessible for people in wheelchairs. It's really the only boat of its kind in the world built from the keel up for that purpose. So it's just a shame that we have to kind of do the class solo. It's just not that interesting when it's only me. However, I'm going to do my best to be your guide. My name is Natalie. I'm from Dharma Yoga Studio. We've been doing this wheelchair yoga class for years at our studio, and it's really a joy to do so, because what we do is just in a simple way we celebrate the joy of movement. And at a time like this, when so many people are kind of stuck at home or ordered to shelter at home, and a lot of people are at risk, especially our friends in wheelchairs are at risk of this virus. We have to be really careful. We want to be respectful. So we're practicing social distancing. Luckily, this boat is big enough to really spread out. So you'll see just me on screen today, and you'll have even more beautiful scenery, of course, with the bay right here behind us and this beautiful boat. So we just want to open up the floor to you guys that might have strong feelings about us being out here on the bay when there's been a shelter-at-home order. The way we see it, we're providing an essential service to people that really need some and deserve some guided movement therapy. So that's why we're here today. That's why we're always here. But we just thought that it's totally okay for us to be out here. That's the way we thought about it. But it was a long, detailed discussion that we had among the people involved. And some people had strong feelings that it might send the wrong message, that to take the boat out on the bay. However, we're going to keep on doing it until we can't, and hopefully we will be able to keep doing it, because we're being responsible about our movements, about our conduct, and certainly about the distance. So any of you who are home watching, or anywhere that you're watching, please feel free to give us some comments, and that way we can start a discussion, because we certainly have time to communicate about this. And as usual, we're all in it together, even more so now under the circumstances. So I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and make the comments as the class goes on. And we welcome all polite, thoughtful comments, and because we want to encourage discussion and communication, of course. And one of the things that we focus on in a yoga setting, whether it's chair yoga or any other kind of yoga, is to find a way to communicate with ourselves. And by that I mean to look inward and to kind of notice what's going on in our inner world, what kind of emotions and feelings are welling up. Because a lot of times, rather than express ourselves in words, we wind up kind of acting out. And when we practice yoga, if we try to be mindful about our movements, and if we match the movements to our breathing, we are in effect working on that proprioception, that inner awareness as well, and staying aware of what's going on in the inner world. And I'm not saying that yoga will make everyone more level-headed and less apt to make knee-jerk reactions or to be less volatile. But what I'm suggesting is that in a yoga setting, we have the practice to put that into play. We can practice it so that hopefully when we go out in the world and we're driving around, back in the day when there used to be a lot of traffic, remember that? When people used to gather together, remember the good old days? And when people gather together, sometimes it's all love and fun, and sometimes there's a little bit of conflict. So if we have that practice of looking inward, when we have those emotions kind of well up, like, oh, I'm feeling really mad right now, or I'm feeling really frustrated, or I'm feeling, really jealous or envious, or I'm feeling really happy, or, whatever it might be, we can sit with it for just a moment and acknowledge it and then react. Because a lot of times if we just pause, things come out a little bit better. And in times like this, one message that we're all getting and that we're all receiving is that we are in this together. And in times like this, people, our hearts can kind of crack open, and we can get really patient and really understanding, or we can get really short-tempered. And all those things are normal. But if we just talk about it, and if you guys comment about it in the comment section, then we'll be able to hash it out without fighting about it. So we'll go ahead and start the class, and I'll ask you to sit comfortably, whatever that means for you. When we do the class in the studio, or we do the class on the boat, most of the time I'm not sitting on the bowsprit, but it's kind of cool. I've always wanted to sit on it, but I've never done it. So here we are. In the studio, we have extra chairs, and sometimes we'll have an extra chair in front of us, and we can put one leg on it, or we can stretch out on it, and I'll show you how to do some things like that with an imaginary chair. So in other words, we're just winging it, and we're going with what we have, right? Because that's all we can do. So you sit comfortably, and the most important thing to do is to notice the breath. So I'll ask you to use your hands to do that. So we can spread these fingers apart and use the palms to hold onto the front of the body, wherever you like, wherever you feel it moving. Now, for most of us, we have a habit of breathing kind of shallowly, kind of up in the chest, and not using most of the lungs, but let's try to breathe a little more fully. So instead of breathing up here at the chest, see if you can send the breath a little bit lower. Now, just no forcing. In fact, all the suggestions that I'm going to make in class today, just be careful, move intelligently, use your own experience. No forcing, because that's not nice, that's not fun. And the hardest part is to really stay focused. If you're sitting with your back against the chair, try to breathe into the back of the chair so that you're breathing into the back of the lungs. You'll feel your rib cage expand. Breathe broadly too, so you're expanding laterally into the sides of the lungs. And just little by little, breathe more deeply, so you're breathing into the low abdomen, even into the low back. So visualize it like that and feel it. And most of the times we use a special breath, so we rarefy the breath a little bit so you can hear it. That's going to make it easier to follow for most of us. So see if you can constrict the back of your throat a little bit so you can hear the breath going in and hear the breath going out. And if that makes you feel weird, don't do it. I'm just suggesting it because it's a technique to keep the mind focused. If you want to close your eyes, and you just breathe audibly. And you just try to focus on the breath from the very start of the inhale to the very end of the exhale. Much harder than it sounds. Most of us can do it for a few breaths, and then we forget the assignment. See if you can send the breath a little bit lower into the low abdomen. See if you can send it back into the low back. Expand it to the sides, to the armpits, to the collarbones, to the upper back. And let's take about 5 more breaths here. Fresh air. Make your last slow exhale. And then we're going to take the hands, so we're just going to bring them down onto the lap. And now we're going to start to move the arms with the breath. So as you inhale, you let the arms straighten, reaching down toward the ground or toward the water in this case. And exhale, bring the arms back. Okay, that's the assignment, back and forth. Stretch the arms out, straight as you can get them, and bring the arms down. And as you do that, try to really put the energy in your fingertips. Separate the fingers, spread them wide as you can. So the hard part really is going with the breath's rhythm. Now, if you can start to lift your arms a little bit higher, you go ahead and do that. Now, when the sound of the breath disappears, usually it's just a sign that the mind is wandering, which is normal. But it's also ordinary, so let's not be ordinary. Look at this spectacular setting. So we're trying to rarefy the breath, and we're using it to get focused. If you can lift your arms higher, do that. Let's do 7 more. No matter how straight the arms, no matter how high the arms, no matter how symmetrical, try to do it to your breath's rhythm. No judgment, no forcing. Three more, maybe a little higher. Really try to open up the sides of the ribs. Now let's do one more. Deep breath in, stretch the arms up. Reach for the sky overhead, reach for the clouds. And then as you exhale, bring the arms down. So now we're just going to shake out the arms. So shake out the fingers, shake out the wrists, shake out the elbows. And then we're going to let the hands rest on the lap again, palms facing up this time, and see if you can do nothing. Notice any tingling sensation you have in your fingers and your hands. Proof that you're alive. Now we're going to keep on going to the breath rhythm. We're going to let the hands rest any way that they're comfortable on your lap. And now this next one is going to be about the head and neck. And of course about moving to the breath rhythm. So as you inhale, you let your head lift, you let your eyes or your face turn up toward the sky. And as you exhale, you slowly bring your chin down toward the chest. So that's the assignment for the next few breaths. Lifting the head up and bringing the head down. So of course, what happens is that our focus goes to the moving parts. So try to just stay focused on the breath and remain aware of the rest of the body too. Let's do like 5 more. And you might notice the change in the range of motion, even after just a few repetitions. Let the breath get a little deeper. Try to get your torso to feel a little more buoyant, a little lighter. Let's come back to neutral with the head. All right. And now we're going to do the head and neck, but going from side to side. So going to take a deep breath and you turn your head to one side, whichever side you want. Don't let me micromanage you. And then as you exhale, you turn your head the other way. Okay, so that's the assignment for the next few breaths. You just turn your head to the side on the inhale, and you turn your head the other way on the exhale. And we're not really moving the shoulders or the arms. It's nice to trace the line of the water on the horizon. Do it with whatever scenery you have. And some people might get dizzy when they're doing this, so you can close your eyes. That will help if you have a tendency to be dizzy. Let's do a few more. Just go with the breath. Let's do one more each side. And then we're going to bring the head back to neutral. Now we're going to bring the hands together, palms touching, and we're going to rub the hands into each other. And squeeze one hand with the other. So you're doing a little bit of a massage. Just nice. You're the giver and the receiver of this massage. Remember back in the day when we used to be able to get massages? The good old days. We'll get them again. Now take one hand and massage the opposite forearm as best you can. And the other one too. All the way from the wrist to the forearm. And don't forget your breath. It's a good thing that the breath is automatic, because if it were up to us to remember to do it, we would not have gotten very far as a species, I doubt. My vegan chinchilla puff just came off. Vegan chinchilla puff. Well, we'll get it again. Let me retrieve it, pardon me. So keep on going with that action of moving the head from side to side. And then we'll bring the head back to neutral. Okay, now let's take the hands again, and we're going to grab one hand with the other. There are a lot of options here, of course. If you don't have a lot of motor control, then maybe it's really difficult to interlace the fingers. But even if it's difficult, I've seen a lot of people do it just if you keep on trying. So take your time to get that to happen. If it's easy for you, just spread out your fingers and do one way and the other way, while our friends at home will kind of get their fingers to interlace. So there's no rush. And if you have your fingers interlaced, then squeeze the fingertips onto the opposite hand, right? And if this just doesn't work for you today, then make a fist with one hand and hold on with the other. Something like that. Anything to just join the hands together. And now take the hands in front of the heart. So wherever you have your hands, if you can create some resistance, do that. So I mean squeezing with your fingers and also pulling apart in opposite directions with your arm muscles while you're holding on with your hands. Okay, so whatever you got going on with your hands, let's do the breath. So as you inhale, you lift the arms out forward in front of you. And as you exhale, you bring the arms back. So keep on doing that. If you want to do the fingers, palms facing forward, you do that. So whenever we have a group larger than one, we have to account for differences, of course, and uniqueness. So you do this in your own way. Some of you will have the arms stretched out like this. Some of you have the arms a little bit higher. Some of you have your arms all the way up. Do whatever you can comfortably. But the point is to go with the breath. So we're trying to slow down. Haven't we been busy enough? Anxious enough? Worried? Concerned? Enough? Let's just slow down. We can get back to our busy lives later. For right now, just doing some therapeutic moves, tuning into the breath, or chair yoga. Now let's stretch the arms out in front, and we're going to bring the hands onto the knees or onto the thighs, wherever you can reach, right? And try to make your arms as straight as you can as you do this, and press down onto your knees, right? Down, or depending on how forward you get your hands, maybe pulling or drawing the hands toward the knees too. Whatever helps you to get some action in the arms. And just pause like that, and we're going to round the back. So you're going to bring the chin toward the chest, and you're going to cave your chest in. You're going to bring your belly button back, and you're going to just stay like that for a moment. So you're kind of curling into a little ball. And as you do this, notice what happens with every exhale, how the abdomen draws in. You really can be noticing that, that contraction that is caused by the exhale or required by the exhale. So you're protracting the shoulder blades away from the spine. I think of this as a cat stretch. And then let's come back into neutral. And then let's take the hands off of the knees, and let's bring the hands either to the hips or to the sides of your chair, or the wheels of your chair, or to your bowsprit, and we're going to press the hands down, and we're going to do the opposite of what we just did, or the complement. So that's going to be lifting your head, but bringing your shoulders back this time, bringing your chest forward, bringing your waistline forward. So you're arching your back and you're looking up. So feel your shoulder blades pressing toward your spine. So if you had a tail, if you had a long tail, you would be touching that imaginary tail to the back of your head right now. Really arching. Take another deep breath in. Slow exhale. And then let's come back into neutral, and let's go back into the rounding again. So you're going to bring your belly button in toward the spine, round your back again. So this time, if you can imagine your tail would come kind of between the knees, aimed toward the forehead. So sometimes that image helps. So let's just go back and forth a few times. So inhale, bring your heart forward, looking up. So it's the head, the neck, it's the shoulders, it's the rib cage, it's the waistline, it's the low back, it's the pelvis, going back and forth. So inhale, chest forward, lift the head. Exhale, round the back like a cat. And then do that a few times more. Inhale, so we're moving the spine a little bit, we're moving the rib cage a little bit, we're moving the shoulders, we're deepening the breath, we're working on circulation, on lymphatic drainage. Let's bring ourselves back into neutral, and then pause. And wherever you are, take a moment to find some stillness. Here on the bay, we have a gorgeous view. We can hear the water, we can hear the breeze, we can hear the seagulls. And then from here, we're going to do a little bit of a side stretch. So this is, when we do this in the chair yoga class, when we have more chairs around, sometimes we'll get an extra chair and put it to the side, on either side, or in front of us. So if you have something like that, you can do that on either side, right? But it also works just fine to hold onto the wheel of your chair or the arm of your chair, because what we're going to do is we're going to try to stretch open the right side of the body. So we're going to bring your left hand down, right? Either on your bowsprit or on your chair or whatever you got, or on the wheel or the side of your chair, and we're going to take the other arm, the right arm, out to the right. So first, just reach out with that arm. And now we're going to bend the arm, and we're going to take the hand behind the head. Okay, so if you prefer to have your arm out like this, you can. Any of those moves, getting you from there to here, will be fine. Now the left hand is going to stabilize you. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, and then you're going to lean to the left. So we're pressing the head into the hand, and we're kind of stretching open the right side of the ribs. Now make sure that your head and neck are comfortable. Either you're looking forward or you're looking down. And it's nice to see that everyone is practicing social distancing on all these boats, because of course you see the cops coming. They're just trying to make us safe. Keep us safe. Now press into that left hand wherever you have it and slowly rise up. And just notice how much more space you have on that right side. Let's pause in neutral for a moment. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So if you have something on this side that you can lean your right hand onto, you do that. Otherwise, you hold on to whatever you got. And we're going to take that other arm out to the side, really reach through it. So there's a big difference between just holding your arm out and putting no effort into it, or really trying. So really stretch the arm out as much as you can. The same procedure, we bend the elbow, we slowly take the hand behind the head, we press the head back, and now we're going to work on stretching open that left side. So you bow open, you smile into that left lung, crank that elbow up in the air if you can. Take some nice deep breaths, fresh Miami air. And as you're doing this, of course, we're focusing on the stretch, but notice if there's any part of the body that you feel like the tension is, where tension might be mounting. And if you do feel yourself clenching up, back off a little bit. Now we're going to come to neutral position. So press into your right hand and slowly lift up. Okay, now we're going to come back into neutral. You take your hands into the most comfortable position. Okay. And then the next move that we're going to do, we're going to go with the breath again. I'll ask you to, or I'll encourage you to keep your breath audible, and we're going to go from side to side. And we do this differently every time. So it's going to be a little bit of a twist for the upper body. So for this first one, I'm going to ask you not to use your hands to help you. So you're going to just float your hands. Actually, I'll ask you to do this. Put your hands on the front of the body. So take a nice deep breath in neutral. And then on your next exhale, you turn your upper body to one side. It'll only go so far. And then as you inhale, you bring yourself back to the center, and as you exhale, you go the other way. So just keep on going back and forth. So we're using the muscles in the core. So important for everyone, not just our friends in wheelchairs. And what we really want to focus on is moving to the breath's rhythm. And now we're going to add something. We're going to help with the hands. So you come to neutral, facing forward. And on the next exhale, you turn, but this time you let your hands help you, wherever they land. There's no forcing. Inhale, we come back to center, to neutral, and then exhale the other way. So it's really much more interesting when we have a bunch of our friends in wheelchairs with us, because we can see the wide range of talent and grace and good humor and personality. And everyone has their own way of doing this move and all moves. So most of us will focus on how the front of the body feels. We'll kind of have the habit of focusing on what's in front of us, but tune into the back of the body too. We're going to do this a few more times to each round. So those of you who have legs that you use, that you move around with, willfully keep your lower body still. So it's not just that the legs are not moving, it's that they're willfully stationary, actively stationary. So we're going to do this once more to each side, and then we're going to hold each side. So the next time that you make your exhale, pause in that same direction and just stay there for a moment. So you're holding on with your hands. They're helping to stabilize the position of your upper body. And then try to engage the abdominal muscles to keep the front ribs still and try to send the breath into the back of the body. So if you're not used to doing it, it feels awkward, and the other parts of the body will tense up. So just be aware of that. Focus your eyes on a point of your choice and just keep your eyes there. Try not to let the eyes dart around. And let's take 5 deep, enjoyable breaths here. Breathing consciously, deliberately into the back of the lungs. Two more breaths. And then you're going to slowly return to the center and just pause in neutral to feel the aftertaste of that twist. Notice if any parts of your body feel more open, feel more stretched, feel anything tighter, agitated, relaxed. And then we're going to do the other side. So a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, you turn to the other side and you let your arms hold you in place. So your fingers, your hands, whatever. This side is different. It's going to be different. We use the arms to steady the upper body in this twist. Try to crank open into the back of the lungs equally without favoring one over the other, without discriminating. The front of the body is held a little bit still so that we can stretch the air into the back of the lungs. Even the eyes are disciplined and focused on a point of your choice. 5 breaths here. Delicious, audible, smooth, enjoyable, life-affirming breaths. We slowly come back to the center. And now we're going to keep on going with this idea of twisting, and we're going to add something. So we're going to add that move where we lift the head and lower the head. We're going to add that move where we arch and round the back, right? But now we're going to add the twist. So go to the first side that you did your twist. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, you go to that side and you hold on with your hands. You kind of anchor yourself. All right, those of you who use your legs, keep them willfully still. Take a nice deep breath in, arch your back, so you're bringing your chest up and forward, broadening the collarbones, looking up at the seagull. And then you keep the twist by using your hands to hold you in place, but you round the back. You drop the chin toward the chest. Very different, so keep on doing that. Inhale. And exhale. And do like 5 more of those. So these are the kind of moves that you sometimes see on the airplane videos. They say, oh, you can do these moves in your airplane seat. And I saw a headline just this morning. I glanced at it. I didn't read it, but it seems to be a rumor that they're going to allow us to be socially distanced on airplanes. Wouldn't that be nice? Because that might mean that our friends in wheelchairs will have an easier time of getting on a plane. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, it would be. So you round the back. You come into neutral. And before rushing off to the other side, let's just pause here. So we'll do a little comparative analysis. Notice, how does one side feel now compared to the other? A few deep breaths in center. Kind of scan your body for tension. Take a nice deep breath in. Something big just jumped in the water over there. And then exhale, you turn the other way. Okay, so same kind of thing. We allow this side to be different. We keep the lower body willfully still. We root intelligently with the hands. Okay, now we're going to maintain that twist of the upper body. Take a deep breath, lift your heart, your chest floats up. And then exhale, you round your back, belly button in. So see how different it feels to do this arching and rounding when we're maintaining that little bit of a twist. So what we want to do in these chair yoga classes is celebrate the movement, the joy of movement that we can make. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, back rounds. And then again, inhale, heart lifts. And exhale, back rounds. So you take a nice deep breath in, you come into neutral. Okay, so here we can go into a little bit of some activity for the circulation in the legs. So this one we do often. There's a couple of ones that we really enjoy to do together, and this one is really simple in that we're just increasing the circulation on the surface of the thighs. So you press down with your hands and you kind of go from the hips toward the knees, again covering as much territory as you can. So there are other alternatives. You can lean forward with your forearms and kind of rock from side to side, and that's especially good if you don't feel like you have a lot of control in the hands, if you have limited mobility of the fingers and hands. This might be a little bit better using a little bit of your body weight. And then even more so, you can take the hands and kind of bounce them on the thighs. Try not to do it too hard. We don't want to exaggerate or create bruises. Okay, now, and the next move I'm going to suggest is very serious. So it would be inappropriate to smile in this next one. So be as serious as possible. Now, we're going to take the right hand and we're going to do that same move on the right thigh that we were doing. Don't smile. We're going to take the left hand into a friendly, loving fist. And we're going to bounce that hand on the left thigh as we just cover the right thigh with the right hand back and forth. Be serious. And then switch. Left hand goes flat. Right hand makes a friendly fist. Left hand warms up the surface of the thigh. Left hand, right hand bounces. And then we're going to rub both thighs and take the fingers to the knees and massage around the knees. So now we're going to do a little stretch for the thighs, right? And for this one, it's nice to have a helper if you can. A helper might be human, but also if you have if you can be in front of a sofa or in front of another chair, what I'm going to suggest that we do is keep the the left leg as it is. I'm going to just turn profile because it'll make more sense if you see me from the side. So I'm going to sit this way on the boom sprit, and I'm going to bring I'm mirroring you. So this is say it's my right leg, right? So if you're seated, it might be nice to have your hips a little bit higher than your foot when you bring it up. Right? So in other words, you wouldn't have whatever it is that you're resting your foot on, you wouldn't have it a lot higher than your hips because that's unreasonable, right? So we're just going to have the leg out like this. Now sometimes our friends in chairs, sometimes the foot will or the leg will rotate inward or outward. So sometimes we kind of put something at the yoga studio. We use blocks to kind of like hold the foot in place. So whatever you can. Sometimes even just putting the leg up like this is enough to get a stretch in the back of the thigh. So those of you who have sensation in your legs, you'll be able to feel it. And the danger is that those of us who don't have sensations in the legs, we don't want to, force anything when we're not getting the feedback, the physical sensation and feedback from the limb itself. So just having the leg extended out like that, having the knee extended as straight as possible, having the leg lifted, having the foot a little bit elevated is good for circulation, good for venous return, and you know that, okay? Now, if you'd like to fold forward, you could fold forward. I caution our friends to make sure that the knee isn't just floating without support underneath it, because if we fold forward like this, we want to make sure that the knee is safe. So the leg doesn't have to be totally straight, so you tilt forward at the pelvis. Just hang out like that and see how that feels. And take some nice deep breaths. So a lot of times when you mention yoga to people, they say something about wanting to touch their toes or wanting to be able to fold forward on their leg. But really the tightest part of the whole body is usually the rib cage, the back of the rib cage, the upper back. So all these moves that we're doing to kind of alleviate tension and tightness in the upper back and the rib cage are really beneficial for a lot of us. So now we're going to come up and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So you set yourself up, right? You're going to bring that foot down, going to bring the other leg up. And we're never in a rush. It's kind of, not nice if we are rushing and forcing. So make sure that you're not doing that. And just having the leg like this might be enough. The knee doesn't have to be straight. Thank goodness it's out of fashion to suggest that the knee be straight. And if you can fold forward a little bit more, fold forward. But remember, that's not the goal. Just having the limbs and the extremities elevated, having the feet elevated is beneficial. Gives our heart a little bit of a break. And, let's just face it, haven't our hearts been working a little overtime with all this corona madness? Take some deep breaths. And then slowly start to come up into neutral. So now this foot that's elevated, we'll bring it down again. We'll just sit up nice and tall. And take a few deep breaths. Deep breath in through the nose. Slow breath out through the mouth. So when we breathe out through the mouth, that style of breath has a quality of a sigh, which is a sign of release or a sign of relief. So let's do that. Let's take a few deep breaths in through the nose. Nice sigh. 2 more. Deep breath in, exaggerate the opening. And then again, deep breath in. Now we're going to open up the eyes, and we're going to bring the hands again together, right? So hold the hands with the palms pressing into each other, and we're going to bring the arms out in front of us, and we're going to try to get the elbows really close. So you're squeezing your forearms toward the midline, and you're pressing the heels of the hands together, you're pressing the rims of the palms together, and you're lining up all the fingers. So stay like that. Spread the fingers out, and then squeeze the fingers in. So do that for the next few breaths. So go with the breath. Inhale, stretch the fingers apart. Exhale, squeeze them in. And if you have feet and you can move them, go ahead and try that with your toes simultaneously. And then we're going to keep the hands pressed into each other. We're going to lower the wrists, so the hands so they're in front of the chest, and the elbows are out to the side, so your forearms are parallel to each other, to the floor. Right? Spread the fingers out, and now we're just going to rotate the fingers to aim down toward the water and back up. So just keep on doing that. Fingers, tips aim down toward the water, and then back up toward the clouds. So whatever your scenery is, you fill in the blanks. And it would be a good time to use our imagination. If there's somewhere else that you'd rather be, or somewhere else you enjoy being, visualize yourself there. And then from here, we're going to let the elbows relax, bring the hands to our sides, and shake them out a little bit. So we're going to see if we can move the legs around a little bit here. So now, we always want to make sure that we emphasize whatever it is that I'm suggesting here in these chair yoga classes, really in any yoga classes, it's just a suggestion. So if you want to move a little bit differently, you move differently. If it's not possible with your body, you do it in your imagination, and that's really harder actually, because we talk a lot about, stretching the body, strengthening the body, stretching the muscles, stretching the limbs, trying to tonify the body. But a lot of us don't really talk about working on the powers of the brain or the mind. Of course, it's not a muscle that we're talking about, a muscle that we can stretch and strengthen, but certainly metaphorically and through experience, we have opportunities where we need to really open the mind, and we need to change our point of view, and there are certainly moments that call on us to keep our focus. And so when we are doing these moves, these chair yoga moves or any kind of yoga moves where we're doing repetitive actions where we're matching our movement to the breath, we are setting ourselves up to work on our powers of concentration and focus, which is kind of in demand, and it's getting more and more important, I think. So we're all in it together. So if you find your mind wandering when you're doing this kind of stuff, just kind of be amused and just try not to acknowledge what you're thinking, even to yourself. Just kind of recognize those thoughts as they come, recognize them as just thoughts, and say to yourself, okay, there's a thought arising. I'm going to go back to my breathing, back to my yoga. It's totally normal for that to happen. But really, that is part of the aim of what we're trying to accomplish here, is we're trying to use the breath and use the focus to kind of bring us a little bit inward. And as I mentioned at the start of class, because it really gets us more in touch with our own feelings and emotions. And hopefully when we are honest about our feelings and emotions, it usually puts us in a better mood. So we are talking about mood control. And when we're in a better mood, we're usually nicer to each other, right? So it makes us better company. So it's good for everybody, right? So we're going to do something for the legs. So this is what it's going to be. Some of us are going to be able to lift up the legs like this independently. Okay, not all of us, but not everybody who comes to chair yoga is in a wheelchair. A lot of people, walk right in. Some people use the motorized scooters. Some people use the walkers. Some people use canes. Some people are just in casts or using crutches. I mean, we accept everybody. We invite everybody to come in. So if you can move your legs independently, you'll be going like this. You'll be lifting one leg and lifting the other leg, right? So you'll feel it in the thigh muscles. You'll feel it in the hip flexors, that group of muscles that narrows the angle at the hip. And you might feel it in the abdomen as well, right? So you do one side, you do the other side, and try to do it so that you're lifting the foot off the ground or off the net with an exhale, so that it's done on a contraction. Okay, so that's the assignment. So it's not just that you're just lifting one leg and the other. You're like, exhale, you lift the leg, and inhale, you put it down, and exhale, you lift the other leg, and so forth, right? So for those of us that don't have independent use of the legs, this is what it's going to be. Either we're going to hold on with the hands to the leg itself and lift, or we'll hold on with our hands to whatever clothing we're wearing. And if it takes a lot for you to get your hands, in place, then instead of switching, do about 10 on one side and then switch. Because it's not so much about being able to switch as it is purely just about moving with the breath's rhythm and getting the leg to move, getting the hip to move, getting the body to move. We're compressing the abdomen a little bit as we do this. Really simple. We're using the arm muscles. So again, there's no point in being really dogmatic about this. Right? We want to celebrate moving. So, however you're lifting the leg, it's an exhale, an inhale, an exhale, and inhale. So just keep on going for it. And by the way, some people will actually get like a belt or rope on a boat. We always have a lot of rope, but I don't have any right now. But you can imagine I would tie the rope, not tie, but just hold it behind at the nape of the knee to help lift. But then to imply that we have to move the legs or be able to move, the limbs independently is a prerequisite to this class, would also kind of shut off a certain segment of the population. So you don't have to move at all. If you can breathe, you do this. If the limbs aren't moving, you do it in your imagination. And of course, you can take off. Just go with the breath. So let's do like 5 more each leg, just with the breath. Whether you're doing it physically with your leg or whether you're doing it by moving the limbs. Okay, and then let's do 1 more each side. And then we're going to come into neutral. We're going to sit up nice and tall and then just pause. And take some nice deep breaths. Look at whatever scenery you might have, or in your imagination, return to a favorite spot. Feel the breeze, or the fan, or whatever sounds are in your environment. go back to the breath. So we're going to start to make circles with the shoulders. So as you inhale, lift the shoulders up toward your ears, move them back toward the space behind you, and then as you exhale, drop them down, bring them forward, and keep on going like that. So you're making circles, big circles. Do them simultaneously at first. And in order to accomplish that, that big circle, you might have to move your rib cage and move your arms, of course. Keep on going, twice more in that direction. And then the other direction. Let your rib cage move. Okay, now one at a time. Do one shoulder. Uh-oh, they're not practicing social distancing. And then the other way. One shoulder coming forward, the other shoulder coming forward, so the rib cage is moving. And then we come back into neutral, all the way into neutral, facing forward. Sit up nice and tall. Let's take 5 deep sighs. So deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. 4 more sighs like that. And the sigh is a universal sound of relief and release. Two more deep breaths. So from here, we're going to take the palms, face them toward the sky. So there's lots of symbolism in movement, of course, or we can add symbolism or metaphor to movement. So this gesture of having open hands and open palms is one of, giving, it's one of receiving, it's one of, acceptance, preparedness for whatever might come. It's one of surrender. Right? So just think about that, and also bring your focus to the heart. And there are a lot of metaphors for the heart as well, not just love and affection, but other things that are really important when we're not just dealing with each other, but dealing with ourselves. Right? And that is a long list of virtues like patience and tolerance and understanding and compassion and things like valor and courage. Those are all associated with the heart. So we're going to just use a little metaphor here. As you inhale, just stretch your arms up and out as if you're collecting something. And then you exhale and you bring that something into the heart. Okay, so keep on going with that. And you add whatever metaphor works for this gesture for you. Doesn't matter how straight your arms go, how high they go. Doesn't matter if you have arms. The gesture is what's important, the sincerity of it, the authenticity of it. And then bring your hands to the heart. Acknowledge those things that the heart represents for you. And now we're going to do 2 visualizations. Okay, so the first one, I encourage you to visualize somebody who's really meaningful to you, someone you have a lot of affection for, you care about, you have an easygoing relationship with, your bestie, or someone, a friend or a family or anyone. You fill in the blank. So that person, visualize them in front of you. And you're going to hand them something from your heart. So first, bring your hands down onto your thighs. So we're going to be able to use this for bracing. So one hand is going to come to your heart. Take a deep breath. And then you're going to lean forward and you're going to offer that something to your loved one. Then you come back. That hand goes onto your lap. Deep breath, hand to the heart. Exhale, hand it over. Just keep on doing that. So everyone's going to do this in their own way. I'm not going to boss you around, but this hand on the thigh, I'm going to suggest you use that for, so you can lean forward a little bit more as you're cantilevering your arm out, your torso forward. You're bracing yourself like that. So do it in your own way. You're handing something to your friend. So visualize them in great detail. As you bring your hand out, visualize the expression on their face when you hand it to them. So keep that image of your friend. And of course, whatever it is that you're handing them, it doesn't have to be something that's really physical. This is just a symbolic act. It could be something totally intangible. Do that a few times more. Really reach for your friend. Now we're going to come back to stillness. Okay, bring your hands to the heart. Okay, now this one, much harder. Visualize someone that you have a hard time with, someone who you have rocky history with, someone that you've argued with. You fill in the blank. But someone that you know. So it's personal. And we're going to try to achieve that same feeling that we just did when we were handing something to our friend. Okay? But this time you're going to be handing something to someone who you have a hard time with. Use the same powers of concentration and visualization. So visualize them, how they look, their shape, their clothing, their hair, their skin, their voice, even their perfume. We're going to offer them something from the heart. The same way. Start with the hands on the thighs, deep breath in, and exhale, hand it over. Inhale, scoop it up again, and exhale, hand it over. Just keep on doing that. Works best if you really keep the visualization. So you're stretching. You're really trying to give it up for that person. With the same sincerity and authenticity you did to the loved one. Do that a few times more. And then we're going to come all the way back to neutral, to stillness. Bring the hands to the heart center. Take some nice deep breaths. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale with a sigh. 2 more sighs. Deep breath. 1 more deep breath in. So think of those things that the heart is associated with. But now let's focus on gratitude. Acknowledge something or someone you're grateful for. Just pick one, because there are trillions. And as you take a nice deep breath in, once again, we're gathering. This time it's gratitude, and we're bringing it into the heart. Okay, just do that a few times more. Really stretch long, reach out. Bring the hands to the heart. And then again, reach out, reach up. Bring the hands to the heart. Last one, reach out, reach up. I'm going to bring the hands of the heart. Now, this part of the class is one of the most beautiful parts because everyone who wants to participate can say out loud what they're grateful for. And sometimes it takes, several minutes because we have so many people enjoying the class. And everyone says something different. It's really heartwarming. Just say it out loud. So for me today, I'm a little heartbroken that our friends and chairs aren't here with us physically, but we know that they're watching this class virtually. And my thanks is to you for coming, for joining us. And of course, a big heartfelt thank you to Deborah Mellon for letting us come out on the Impossible Dream. A thank you to the yoga program at Dharma Yoga Studio in Coconut Grove, now virtual. And also a big thanks to the Woody Foundation, a local nonprofit who helps our friends with brain and spinal cord injuries and their families, doing selfless work with Jackson Rehab and a lot of other organizations like the Bonacani Fund and the Miami Cure for Paralysis and just countless other groups. So thank you to those three in particular, the Impossible Dream, the Woody Foundation, and Dharma Studio. And thank you guys for coming to the class. And please be safe out there. Keep your distance. It's really hard to even imagine when's the next time we're going to get all those hugs that are going to be building up. But please leave some comments for us and let us know if you want us to continue this class out here on the bay, keeping a social distance, a safe social distance, providing you with an inspiring view aboard this amazing vessel. So please let us know how you feel. Thank you for coming. Namaste.